How can we get more women to take top positions, and how can those of us already there make sure that that pipeline is being continuously filled with more and more capable women? I have to tell you that it is a bit dismaying for someone like me. You know, there's about only one thing to be said if you're 60 in this world, and that is that you have pretty well seen everything. And I'm at that stage in my career. And so it's still a little bit disappointing when you see how young women view their own ambition, and when you see how other people ascribe negative qualities to women who let it be known that they have ambition. The first thing about being a CEO is that you really have to want to do it. It's a big responsibility. It takes a huge amount of time, a huge amount of preparation, and you need people to know that your aspiration is there and that you are not going to dampen down your aspiration. For women, even in the year 2014, that remains a problem. Women feel that they cannot easily own their own ambition. When I was at Bombardier, there was a woman at Harvard who was doing great work. Her name was Anna Fels, F-E-L-S. Great work studying female ambition. And she had been studying this for a very long time. And what she found in a consolidation of all of her work was that in the year 2004, there was still a very long way to go. Somehow, young women were very ambitious up until the age of about 14, and then they would lose their aspiration. Because by that time, they were socialized enough to know that if you stood out, and if you wanted to stand out, and if you said you wanted to do something very big in whatever field of endeavor, it wasn't always met with a lot of encouragement. In fact, people, even women, their girlfriends, would ascribe negative connotations to female ambition. Not too long ago, Frank Flynn took that research one step further. And now, sort of leapfrog, we're now into 2012. He's a professor at Stanford University. And he decided that there was a very famous Harvard Business School case study, and it was about a woman, Heidi Roizen, who had been a great entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, and she'd built her company from nothing. He decided that he would test out whether his former colleague, Anna Fels, was getting something right or whether it was maybe a little bit of an exaggeration. And what he found to his horror is that not only had she gotten it right, it was still very alive and well, and it was alive and well in both men and women. So what he decided to do is he gave the story of Heidi Roizen as a case study at Stanford, the business school. But he changed the name for half of his students. So half of his students, he said, okay, this is Heidi, and these are her accomplishments at building this company. And for the other half, he characterized the CEO and the leader who had made all the accomplishments as Howard Roizen. The reactions of his students, male and female, whether if they thought the person was Heidi, a woman, or Howard, a man, were completely different. With respect to Heidi, they said, well, yes, those are great accomplishments, but I wouldn't really like to work for her because, you know, I think she's too assertive. And, you know, there's an aggressive tone to how she goes at things with her team that came through in that case study that did not come through if you thought the person was Howard. Now, I tell you this because one of the most important things that the Egon Zehnder 100 are going to have to do coming out of here is to help women own safely their own ambition and their own aspiration. And also, I know that there are some members of the media here. The media are very important in helping to sharpen any debate and to identify what may be going on in broad social constructs that could be a problem for achieving a goal. And I don't think anybody would say, or nobody on Reconstructed at least would say, that it's not a worthy goal, that we tap into all of the talent in our society, whether it be male or female, whether it be from any ethnic minority, that we tap into all of it. So people would say that that is a worthwhile goal. Well, in order to do that, I do think that we do need to sharpen the debate, and the media can help. They can help us understand how portrayal of women, portrayal of female executives today can be negative, because it can reinforce for young women that concern that they gradually get, that if they are ambitious, they will not be liked. And the portrayal in the media today, I think, is actually, it is probably time for leaders in the media to look at how the portrayal of female executives is actually carried on. Maybe if we had more female business journalists, that would help. I looked at the number of female business journalists, both in broadcasting and in the print media, and it is mighty small. And so I wonder if we had more female business journalists who were leaders and who were able to sharpen this debate because of their own experience. I'm sure getting to be a business journalist in the UK has many of the same difficulties of getting to be a female leader in law, getting to be a female leader in business, a female leader in any of the professions. I'm sure it does. So the role of the media, I think, is very important. The media is probably reflecting what we see more broadly in the reviews of women. It's a very important piece of work that has been done recently that looked at 248 reviews. In those reviews, 92% of the reviews that were done on women mentioned personal characteristics. So they mentioned things like character, personality, a little too assertive, maybe needs to tone it down to be effective in the role. They mentioned what the women wore, how they presented themselves. This is only true in 3% of the reviews that are done for men. So we tend to look at different things. And all of that, I think, goes to reinforce how young women start to lose their ambition and how they start to lose their ability to articulate that this is my aspiration. And I think that's very, very important, because if you don't aspire to do these hard jobs, or if you think that you will not be liked, that you will be criticized because you want to do these jobs, then I think it's going to be doubly difficult for us, the Egon Zehnder 100, to get the numbers to change. Because the things that I am talking about are probably the hardest, most difficult aspect of getting things to change. Carolina has asked me to talk a little bit about my own experience. You know, it has helped me greatly to have had the mentors that I have had, and they have been men and fantastic women. In the federal public service in Canada, years and years ago, probably coming out of the civil rights movement that really brought so many important changes in the United States, our neighbor, those changes had a positive impact in Canada as well, just as I was coming through, just as I graduated from university. So opportunities were made available to me in the federal civil service, and inside the federal civil service, women who were then more senior than I noticed my work, helped me, hothoused me, gave me other opportunities that stretched me. Now, I think that there are a lot of women in here who are very senior. We have, the head of legal for Burberry's here. We have the CEO of a shipping company here. We have a lot of senior women here. It really is going to fall to us, if we're going to make these numbers change, to come out of here with a kind of a personal commitment that we are going to, at least for one woman, maybe for many more if you can, mentor them the way I have been mentored and the way I am sure many of you have been mentored. It makes a huge difference to pick your bosses wisely. And sometimes, if the opportunities don't materialize for you so that you aren't getting the sort of development that will prepare you, it makes a huge difference to feel strong enough to divorce your bosses as well. I have thankfully only had to do that once, but around me, when I was making that important decision, was a group of very supportive women whose shoulders on whom I had stood for 10 or 12 years previously, had given me opportunity, and kept giving me more and more. As a CEO now, one of the problems that I see, the lists that I get from the executive recruitment industry are still predominantly male, and they're still predominantly white male. But as Jill and others will point out to me quite rightly, it is my fault. I'm a CEO. It's my fault because I am not building a pipeline that is big enough and broad enough to make sure that the lists that come to me have got a broad diversity of names on it. I have committed, therefore, for my time at Royal Mail and also for my time at Canada Post, to make sure that I take the same chances with the talented women that I see, the same chances that were taken with me, and prepared me, therefore, to at least be a credible candidate when opportunities presented. And so 30% of my executive team in this macho, male-dominated world of the Royal Mail, 30% of the executive team is female. My chief operations officer is an absolutely amazingly talented woman, has worked in a whole variety of spheres, but mostly in staff roles, has not had big industrial operations in her background. Her skills, though, in how she helped change cultures and ideas in other places were exactly what I felt was needed for Royal Mail. And in a very short space of time, she is changing things. I think the legacy of our industrial relations history is all too well known. And certainly it's very important that we change that if Royal Mail is going to be successful over the long term. Her experience in other spheres, changing attitudes, changing approaches, changing the way we do things, I felt would be invaluable in that chief operations role. And hopefully, by not just asking that she demonstrate she had done exactly the same thing in some past role, hopefully now I am broadening her experience such that she will be a very credible CEO candidate for some board in the not-too-distant future. So I say to you that we, as the Egon Zehnder 100, we're going to have to do things like that. Now, what is the role of boards in all of this? I'm probably one of the few people who believes that it's very important in every institution in society that we have balanced representation. And so making that achievement, getting 22% of board members to be female, that's an amazing accomplishment in such a short space of time. And we should all take heart from that. Once a target is put out there, and if people work hard enough, you get there, and you get there in a very short space of time. But I do not think that you can expect boards to change the executive pipeline. Not because they're disinterested or don't want to. It's because it's not really their job. It's not the focus of their attention. Their job is to make sure that the processes inside the company work well, that the strategy of the company is a tested and right one for the time, that they do have a reasonable succession plan for the critical jobs, but they don't have all the reins that the executive team has. The executive team has the reins that go to recruitment, promotion, appraisal, development. All of those are reins that are held in the hands of the executive team. So I really think if we haven't created the pipeline that Carolina and Egon Zehnder is expecting us to create, you really cannot blame the boards. I think we can blame ourselves as executives. I think we can blame a lot of the portrayal of women and the negative connotations that are still ascribed to things like ambition and aspiration if it is female ambition. So those are the things that I think that if we are successful in tackling, we will get there well before 2025. So I have had the great privilege since I've been in the UK to participate in lots of discussions, something like this one. I hope this one is different in that it is a call to action for every one of us in this room, because that's at the end of the day how the numbers will get changed. What do I think we can do? Well, we can come out of here with our resolve strengthened, that we will personally take it upon ourselves to use our position to mentor at least one high potential woman, to be her posse when things don't go exactly as we hope, to make sure she gets back on that horse and she rides, to recommend her if things are not going well in a particular job, to help her navigate to the new one that's going to develop her in a positive and better way. So coming out of here, can we all make that as a personal commitment? And then I think we need to be part of a broader commitment. Can we each change the debate? If we see women being portrayed in a wrong way, where their ambition is being criticized, or where factors are being focused on that are just irrelevant to the job that they have, call it out. If we start calling it out, if we start saying to the media, you know, Moya Greene's eyes are not icy blue. Her mother thinks her eyes are true blue. If we start saying things like that, maybe people would think twice about even thinking that's a relevant thing to say about me. Of all of the things that you could say about me, why, for goodness sake, is that relevant? And also, I think if we start to sharpen the debate and keep track of the examples where we feel that women are being reviewed, whether inside our organizations or more gently generally in the broader environment, if they're being reviewed in a way that will cause young women to just say, there's so much criticism that will go along with this if I put my hand up and say I'd like to give it a go, I'm not going to do it. If we think the criticism is of that kind, if we call it out and we have this resolve generally to do that, that will sharpen the debate and make things different. And then finally, if you are a CEO, and you know, being a CEO is difficult because you're optimizing 1,000 things every day if you're a CEO. But if you are a CEO, if you're lucky like me to be a CEO, one of the things that you have to optimize is the talent that's in your pipeline. And so when people do a succession plan for you and you look down 5 levels below you and there are lots of women at the bottom and they don't seem to be very prevalent at the top, You've got to make it happen, because in your organization, you actually are the only one with enough power and authority to change the things that will make it happen. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.